Okay. The Irish people, I don't think, have moved in the sense of being utterly committed to, call it military neutrality, call it non-alignment. I think they are committed to the position and the respect we're shown across the international scene as a fair player and as a moral authority, and that is on the basis of neutrality and non-alignment, and also our history of being the colonised rather than the coloniser. And I think it's also fair to say, Taoiseach, during the obviously the brutal invasion of Ukraine by Russia, you spoke when others started talking about weapons and all the rest of it, of the fact that I don't think there is a requirement for Ireland to be a military superpower. So I would like to think that that is a situation that we could continue with. And not only do people respect our position and the work that we have done as regards peacekeeping, I think we have the really strong message in relation to the Irish peace process and all that has brought us and all that it can bring us into the future. And it is something that is respected throughout the world and is almost a template for best practice in relation to moving us to a better place than we are at the minute. And in relation to peacekeeping, I think it's fair to say that my own hometown of Dundalk and obviously Donegal, we felt both pride and pain in the loss of Private Sean Rooney. So like we have earned that respect with peacekeeping. Also there's been a huge tally that has been paid, so I wouldn't like to think that we would move to some place where some commentary has been in the last while. And I think there hasn't been sufficient over and back in this House or anywhere else in relation to moves that have been made over many years. And yeah, I have heard some reassuring commentary today as regards there wouldn't be movement towards NATO, but I can't say that every position that has been taken and that every comment that we hear from some Fianna Fáil and some Fine Gael commentators is necessarily just as positive as that, because I think it would be absolutely fair to say that the Irish people could not stand over a huge amount of the positions that have been taken by NATO and NATO powers, and particularly the US, over many years. I, like my colleagues, would much prefer that we were dealing with a citizens' assembly as a means of having a proper over and back, of having real engagement with the Irish people, and would have much worries in relation to the Consultative Forum. I do believe we have to look at enshrining neutrality, military non-alignment in our constitution, so therefore there will have to be talk of referendum. But let's be clear, we also have, we think of the humanitarian nightmare that we dealt with in Sudan. We have the not-so-secret deal with the RAF, and obviously an absolute absence of any real commentary in relation to that. And I think it has shown up that we have a huge issue as regards resourcing and capacity, particularly at sea and in the air. And also, we all know the conditions and the work conditions and the issues there are around retention as regards the Irish Defence Forces. So these are huge issues that we need to deal with. And look, when we're speaking about capacity, look, we all accept we live in a changed world. We all accept we're dealing with hybrid and cyber dangers out there. And look, the problem is we hadn't sufficiently invested in the NCSC. We haven't had that conversation where defence meets critical infrastructure as regards reviewing what dangers there are in relation to obviously the communication cables and all the rest of it. And Taoiseach, earlier you obviously engaged with Deputy Doherty around the fact of, you know, the issues there are in relation to social media. We know we've had organised and non-organised malign actors online. We know the social media companies have particularly not played their part. We know that there are particular cases being brought against Facebook as regards Facebook being weaponised by state players, if we're talking about in the likes of Burma. And look, we need to be a straight player across the board. I would also say we need to be a straight player on an international scene, and that's not just solidarity. That's not just solidarity with Ukraine, which is absolutely necessary. I would like to see the government making moves in relation to the divestment bill, because I don't think it's particularly sound that the Irish state would be a shareholder in illegal Israeli settlements in Palestine. Look, there are no shortage of issues that we have to deal with in relation to this, and I would like to think that we would look at what has been the Irish national liberation struggle, which was about freedom, which was about sovereignty, and which was about fair and just internationalism. I don't think the Irish people have moved, so I would like to think that we would remember that.